However, to get even more out of visuality, our guest today has some interesting thoughts on using a lower tech approach and using it to get to root causes of scheduling problems. So here now to discuss this with us, and someone I've had the pleasure of learning from in her workshops, we're very happy to welcome Dr. Gwendolyn Galsworth of the Visual Lean Institute, an expert in visual workplace concepts. Now, she's written 7 books, and 2 of them have received the Shingo Research and Professional Publication Award, and she hosts a live radio show with 70,000 listeners. Gwen, thanks for joining us today.
It's entirely a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
And Gwen, I must say something quite up front. Of all the workshops and books I've attended or read on quality-related topics, you by far, by at least an order of magnitude, have the best collection of examples.
Thanks. We have about 72,000 in our database. I've been collecting them for about 35 years, so I'm glad you noticed.
and what I like about your examples is there's always a before, a middle, and an after.
Exactly.
So.
Excellent.
Well, so Gwen, let's kind of start off with a big picture to get everyone on the same wavelength. What is a visual workplace?
Thank you, and thank you for not using the word visual management. Let me just say, show my hand on this. Visual management is a subset of the visual workplace, and somehow or other people are confusing the two. But it's easy to straighten out. The visual workplace is about sharing information. The definition that I use is it's a work environment that is self-ordering, self-explaining, and therefore self-regulating, where what is supposed to happen does happen on time, every time, day or night, because of visual devices. And those last words, because of visual devices, are the pivot point. If you take the devices away, you have a workplace that can't hold what is supposed to happen for a very long time. It's unsustainable. And what's supposed to happen, of course, is our standards, our SOPs, our specs, our customer specs. So the visual workplace is a gigantic adherence mechanism. Although it is misunderstood as being just kind of a bunch of tools, it is in fact strategically an approach that is equal partners to operational excellence. The other side is your lean. So it's a language, Jeff, the way I would describe it is that it is our intelligence embedded into the living landscape of work through visual devices. Each of those devices represents some part of our understanding of our operational system, captured, in place physically, embedded, a permanent part of the operational landscape until we decide to improve the device or extend it.
Okay,
That's what I would say.
So let's start off with, I kind of set it up with your great examples. So let's first take a look at the Maytag example. Can we just, Christopher, show this first one of the MDC receiving desk? And can you just describe what we're looking at right there, Dwayne?
Yes, well, this is a little bit of a hot topic, but I'm going to try to make it short. What we're looking at is a computer. It's an old one, true. This is at a Maytag plant in Iowa. And in this computer is all the information you ever want, ever could want, including information related to the receiving desk. And the supervisor there would often go to that computer to derive information, but found it very burdensome. So what we're going to be looking at is her.
Did we lose Gwen? I think we might have lost Gwen there. Oh, no.
Nope, there you're back.
Okay, thank you. So perhaps I was at the point of all the information was in the computer, but it wasn't available to the supervisor when and as she needed it, and she needed to know about the changes when they happened. So what she created instead is a visual display, and this would be the blue board, if you would show that, please.
Okay, it's up.
Thank you. She decided to get physical and therefore visual about the information she needed to feel a sense of control over her job, which was supervising the receiving desk. And what she did was create a display that holds all of her trucking vendors, because she was always watching for when is this delivery going to happen? Is it going to happen on time? And each day she populates the board with the actual paperwork of the pickup and of, I should say, and of the delivery as well. And if something changes during the day, a trucker is delayed, there's a flat tire, different customer has a problem, has to stay longer on a different site, in a different state perhaps, she makes the adjustment directly on the display, which always gives her a complete and up to the minute accurate picture of her world. She knows it, and so does everyone else. So this display, which is one, if I can use fancy language, one category of visual function. It's a function that supports the supervisor, these visual displays, visual scheduling boards. This is what she created. She had a vocabulary of visual devices. She chose this one
Now,
to
is
substitute. Go
this
ahead, please.
something that only the supervisor uses, or can the employees that are working there, can they move some of that information around, or do they just use it? Do the employees actually look at it, or is it strictly for the supervisor to use?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So in this particular case, it was just for her. But of course, automatically, by putting the information that she needs to know in this physical, visual format, everyone else sees the same information and has the scoop, knows what's happening up to the minute. If she were to involve other people in this display, so that they could change things, then there would need to be some kind of physical signal, a flag, a dot, that something has changed. So that people didn't have to inform you of the change. The board simply spoke and said, this has changed. Or
Okay.
maybe there would be some kind of a tracking device saying, I changed this, I changed that. But if it's being used communally, then you always need ownership, but you always need to visually show that the change happened. Otherwise, people won't pick up that subtlety. It's a great question.
And to me, that's a great, that helps me understand it better in the sense that the board speaks to the people that are using it.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look at this Wiremold example. Christopher, can you show the third slide? So up on the screen is the whiteboard with only yellow. Can you just describe what we're looking at now?
This is a fantastic, first of all, it's a fantastic plant, Wiremold. This is back in the about 1998, 99, just when, I'm sorry, his name escapes me, Art Byrne, just after Art Byrne left. And he created this incredible dynamic production system, but he also understood how to get people culturally involved in controlling their own work. And what we see here is kind of a before. It is a board, what I call a visual display board, that tracks the manufacture of tools. This was a machine-driven plant, and the tool department was always making new tools, new fixtures, new die, whatever. And what you see in the middle there, all that yellow, are the components of a tool being made. And if you read across the top, it says mill and process, heat treat, ready to grind, grind and process, jig grind, and then wire EDM, and then completion, etc. And this worked really, really well for the supervisor, the tooling manager in this department, in terms of his need to know. This was his first cut, his first iteration.
And then I think you have another.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that in just a half a second. But the important thing here is he realized that he didn't have enough information. Even though he had a lot of information, he still needed to know something else. And what he needed to know was the pace, the timing of the movement of these tooling elements through the process. And so then now we're ready for that one.
All right, the next, okay, there we go. And so now the multicolored indicators are on display.
Right, so he's got these he's got the same magnetics, but he has different colors because he wanted to know not just where they were and what they were, but how long they would be there, how long it would take for that particular component, the red component, the blue, the green, to make it through the entire process. He wanted to know what the cumulative time was, and he added this. So if it's red, it's going to take over 30 hours to move through this 8-part process. If it's yellow, it'll take under 30. But here's what's brilliant. He also said, if it's green, it's under 20, and if it's blue, it's under 10. So he added the dimension of time in enough, you could say, granularity or specificity for him to feel this sense of control. And this is what we want out of our displays. We want the supervisor to feel a sense of control over not just the schedules, but the problems in the schedule, the pace of the schedule, the bumps in the schedule, and that's what we're seeing here. It's absolutely brilliant.
It adds so much more when you add those different dimensions of color to it.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And you can do other things as well. For example, there's a way, if he wanted to determine what is today, how do I know that this is today or where today is? He could do that as well. You begin with your basic need to know, and this is throughout all visuality, whether you're a GM, a supervisor, an operator, what is your need to know? And what do I need to know right now that I don't know in order to do my work, whatever that work is? And when you find the answer to that question, you turn it into a visual device and you begin to build or populate your locus of control, be it a GM desk or whatever, or an operator bench,
Okay.
with the information that you need so you can pull it to you when and as you need it.
Well, excellent stuff. Absolutely excellent.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Well, thank you,
Thanks.
Gwen. If you'd like to read Gwen's article, just click on the link below the video player to go straight to the article. And I think you'll find it not only interesting, but a highly innovative and different perspective on visuality.
Well, Gwen, thank you for joining us again. We'll see you down the road.
My pleasure indeed. Thank you.
We'll talk
Bye-bye.
to you soon. Thanks.